just okay. Oh my god, I gotta fix my. Holy shit. Oh boy. It is a Thursday. It's a Thursday, y'all. And there's quite a few things that are happening, honestly, and it's only so stressful. Since it's a shorter day, I'm not really sure if I'm going to dive into a lot of crazy shit. Just cause I feel like that's not good for my mental health. I don't know. We'll see. What's everyone up to today? Uh, uh, uh. I always like to see what's happening. What is happening? Oh, yeah, oh man, I got. I did. Man, my back hurts. You wanna know why? Because I worked out. I don't know. Sometimes when I do things and then I come to stream, I'm just like, wow, I get to sit here now. And then I talk. And it's fun when you guys are here, but the first half, or not even the first half, the first like 10 minutes, I'm just like, will people live here? Or will I be alone? All by myself. I sneeze. Yeah, oh my goodness. Oh man. I don't know why I've been sneezing so much lately. It's just been a vibe. I haven't been about it. I think I might sneeze again. Num 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 num. Yeah. I don't know. Every time I go to the gym, I'm like, yeah, I did good today. And then I remember I have to keep doing things throughout the day, and then I'm like, oh, yay. And honestly, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. Kind of. I'm a little nervous today. I hope it goes well. Mm. Oh, wow. Hi, Kenny. Oh, what are you hyped about? My goodness, what has happened? Anything excited? Exciting? Tomorrow? What's happening tomorrow? Please tell me. I would like to know. I wanna know. Can you tell me? Generally do wanna know. Oh, League starts. What league? Like League of Legends? Oh, sorry. I just sprayed perfume. It just looked like I got snot all over myself or something. Not that, just perfume. Poe 2? Poe 2? What is that? I don't know what that means. What is that? Poe 2? Poi? Poi? Person of interest? Or no. Interest starts with an I. Ah. I got brain cells, I swear. They're working sometimes. The 5 that are going are just going overtime. Just check this one out. What is that? Oh, Path of Exile. It makes sense. I don't know anything about it. It's been 4 months. Oh boy, howdy. I have something to share with you guys. Guess what? Guess what? Just look at the bear. The bear is bearing. Or I like bears. They're really cute, like little teddy bears. My favorite animal, though, is a snow leopard. It suits me. uh, anyways. Wait, what's your favorite animal? Sorry, you got me sidetracked with the bear. Andrew likes. Andrew! What's your favorite animal? Sheep! His favorite animal is a sheep. I think that's really cute. You're a big fan of bear? Oh, that's cute. I think bears are cute. they're they're just like big and fluffy. I always want to hug the big ones, you know? I saw a couple of them when I was backpacking once and when I was driving. I almost hit them with my car because it was like I was in the mountains and I was above the hey, like hey, Kia. Kia. Also, if Bixby is really loud and annoying today, I want you to know that it's pure. Oh, that's a cute little burb. I like that. But it's because she's on a diet now and she can't eat whatever she wants anymore. And she is a little upset. She's running away now. She was on my lap for a second. Now she's like, goodbye. They're incredibly smart, like scary smart. Yeah, birds are really smart. Animals are just smart in general. That's why she's mad at me. She's like, I know there's food. I know exactly where the food is. So, hi, Siri. He's so upset. Hi. Oh, also, our heat went out today. So there were people in the house and they were not about it. They were like, so we have to lock them in the rooms. Like, so, and keep them apart. Because the cats need to be alone and the dogs need to be alone. Otherwise, they hype each other up. Oh, yeah. Have you ever had a bird, Kenny? Back to the Kia. Kia. Hi, George. Not just dogs. Oh, man. I had a bird. It was like my soulmate bird. I don't think I'll have another one. Currently, nothing. Oh, my. I had a little lovebird, and she was very smart. She always like sat on my shoulder and did homework with me. She was my chosen bird. I'll never get another bird because of it. It was like my bird. You move way too much for having animals. Aw, get a cat. Or two cats. They can't be lonely. Two cats. They entertain themselves, you know. They have fun. You can take them outside. You can take them camping. I know. I've taken mine camping and hiking, and they're very good at it. And you can train them to like water. When I was life riding, I took my cat swimming with me. And my swimmers loved it when I was coaching. It was so cute. And he says, when you move to a different country, it just becomes a nightmare. Oh, valid. Valid. I respect that. Wait, where are you from, Kenny? I think you told me, but I forgot. Also, I can't remember if I said it, but hi, George. Hello. Yep. Putting Vaseline on my hands right now. Wait, are you in the UK right now? Is that it? Are you... I could be wrong. We've had like lots of new people come in. Are you the Hungarian? No. Yes. Hungary, yeah, but you live in London after moving back from the US. Yep. See, I remember. It just takes me a second. I have to like rack my brain and be like, what's going on here? Okay. It's a vibe. Yeah, that's a lot of moving. Honestly, I've moved a lot with my pets, and it is so much. And then I always accumulate them. I never want to have this many pets, but then it's just like, hi, Bixby. I didn't really choose them, they chose me. And then people are like, oh, you're good with animals. You fostered lots of animals. Help me with my animal. and then they become foster fails. I'll try to like give them to somebody else, and then they won't eat. They'll go on like Bixby went on a hunger strike, which is very shocking with how chunky she is. Yeah. And then we just kind of get people's pets that they can't have anymore. I think all of them were like that, except for Oliver, my field golden hound mix. He he's special. Hi, baby girl. Hi. Come here. I know you want pets. Let me see if she'll come up here. Puppies? Do you think you'll ever settle down enough? No way Bixby was on a hunger strike. Yeah, she was. She starved herself for like, I tried putting her in 2 different homes. And then, come here. And then I wasn't even going to keep her when I moved. And then she just stopped eating and stopped like doing things and started like peeing everywhere. And then I got her again. It's not really me related. I think it's more related to Siri because they're like a pair. They're very close. She's never liked any other cat besides him. So as long as they're together, they'll do okay. I have a feeling that um they'll pass away like maybe close to one another too because she could not handle life without him. He could definitely handle life without her though. Right, baby girl? Yeah, you're just very particular about the people and the other cats. She like barely tolerates the dogs, but every other because I used to foster other cats, right? And she hated all of them. Only like Siri, which is fair. That's why it's called Siri and Bixby, like the phone talkie automation thing. Come here. No, come here. You're being so needy. She's like, no, you gotta work for it. I'm hungry. We realized that she needs to go on a diet because she can't jump onto the counters anymore. Like yesterday, she was trying to jump on the counter, and then she missed it, and she tried again. It's because she weighs so. And the vet was like, "You really should consider putting them on a diet." But when my passed away, I'm giving you guys like too much information, but who cares? But when my passed away, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna hold off on the diet thing, and then we'll see what happens next. And she she's put on quite a bit more weight. Come here. I know you're upset. She's doing the flicky tail thing. She's trying to get me to go get her food. But it's okay. They'll do good. They'll do good. They'll be happy. Right, Bix? Yeah. She's not. She does love to eat. Like it's so funny. I'll be downstairs, and I'll have her like run up and down the stairs like once or twice, and then she's like, no man, I'm done. My metabolism so fast right now. I'm gonna eat a full meal. And it's really funny. Siri is a good weight. Oh, there she is. Hello, Bixby. Alright, here you get to see the chunkish. I love her. She says hello. She's happy though. She's a happy chunky girl. I don't think she'll lose a ton of weight with the diet we have her on, but she's definitely eating like double what she should. Hi, Darius. How you be? How's it going? How you doing? Don't do that. Don't eat that. No, stop. She's gonna pester me until I feed her though. She's just gonna start taking my things too. She used to take my vapes and hide them. It was really annoying. You cleaned your PC. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Proud of you. You know, there was a time where I didn't have a PC. It always, like, trips me out. I don't know how people... I guess I understand how people live without them, but it's hard to game without it. It's very annoying, but you have to do it every year. The glass broke on the side of my PC, and I have the other case ready to go, but I've been to every time I'm like, oh, I need to do it. I need to like put it in the new case. I just kind of forget, and I'm like, oh, whoa, maybe later. I pasted everything, cleaned my fans. Hell yeah, watched the keyboard and class. Oh, nice, nice. George says I got my first PC 26 years ago. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Go George. Glass in it. Glass in it. Dorius. Today I think I'm going to get fitted for some new trainers. Oh, you patted me, Darius. I found out that the running shoes that you're supposed to have mean they're not supposed to be uncomfortable to the point where you can't walk a mile in them without your feet being sore. And maybe that's why my legs hurt. Anyways, Darius says, was PC gaming better than consoles even back then? Oh, good question. I think consoles were better back then. All I hear is racist accent posing we don't acknowledge British face. It's... I mean, look at me. Look at me. I feel like I'm allowed to. Look at me. My ancestors. We're probably like 16th cousins. Oh. Consoles, PC had no games on them. That's what I thought. Oh, I have like a fun game I eventually want to play. It's like a really old school one. It was like an old PC game from my childhood. Didn't people have the did Baldur's Gate 1 come out in like 1999 or something? Holy shit. I don't know. I guess the N64 had like Zelda and Mario around then. Yeah. You're just reminding me of how old I am. Damn. The Ocarina of the Time. Ocarina of the Time is an all-time banger. Huh. I don't know what that is. I have a song stuck in my head. It's like always in the top 3 games of all time, Posey, you massive fraud. What do you mean? Whatever. Whatever. I'm a chill gamer. I'm chill. I've never played League. That's how chill I am. I'll Google it though. See what it is. Boop. Also, what's your favorite animal? Oh, the ocarina, like the instrument from Zelda? Oh, let's see. Daria says, I've never played League, but I played OW loads and it's fucking insane. What is that? I don't know what that is. You're using acronyms. I don't know. Overwatch. Oh, I know Overwatch. I don't know. I like story games a lot more. I only like to play girls in video games. Oh man, my ex was like that too. He said he liked the jiggle physics. Is that your motive? Were you into Lara Croft? I mean, she didn't really have jiggle physics. It was just too like Twin Peaks, you know, on her chest. Anyways, oh, you just like being a mean cheerleader? Is that why you liked like Step Up or like the dancing, the cheer movies or whatever? I have fucking amazing in a society. I have been fucking amazing in a society calling people fugly and being mean. Bro. Sorority? No, no, it's like the dance movie cheer 2000s. Bring it on! Bring it on. You would have loved to Bring It On. What's the Mean Girl Club called? I don't know. I'm not a mean girl. All the hot girls in uni go there. A sorority? I don't know if they're hot. I just think they're. I don't know. I think just some people do it, yeah. Some people do it if they can afford it. I would have been in a sorority if I could afford it, because I'm basic, so. I would have hated it though. I would have been like, ah. No, I was like, I'm gonna do the opposite then. If I were a girl, I'd 1,000,000,000% be one of them. Yeah, I mean, not every sorority girl is actually really mean. Like, a lot of the sorority girls that I knew were really nice. Like, they were always really kind to me. And we hung out, we, like, worked out together and stuff like that. And I swam with them. You'd have been mean. Really, oh my god, Mean Girls are not like the movie Mean Girls. They have to make it so obvious online if someone's a mean girl. Like a mean girl IRL, oh, they are nothing like that. The Mean Girls will give you like so many backhanded compliments. It's like, oh my gosh, I love how courageous you are with the outfits that you choose. Like, it's so cool. I could never do that. Like, hearing a girl be like, I could never do that immediate backhanded compliment. Immediately. They're just like, you're so brave. Oh my god, I could never. I could never have the courage to do something like that. That is mean girl shit right there. Just last season, Adidas Predators, bro. Yeah, exactly. It'd be great. Really? You would love that shit? Bro. Bro, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Also, there's like the tried and true, like, we all have to be matching, and it's usually like super classes too. So you have to spend like thousands of dollars, and you have matching events all the time, especially in the Midwest, because there's nothing to do here. So they're like, let's have a formal every other weekend where we hang out at other people's formals, and then you have to have a special outfit for each formal, buy a t-shirt for each formal, and then you usually have to like spend a fuck ton of money on it. Yeah. And we have to pay to travel for like the events and stuff. It's insane. It's so expensive. Like one of the places I rushed for, I think it would have cost me like 50K a year. Just on like clothing, amenities, being in the house. Like it's insane. It's insane. Get a rich boyfriend to pay for me and then going to the mall. Bro. Oh man. I feel like if a man were to pay for like literally everything in my life, I'd have like an aneurysm. I cannot handle that. I have to pay for like at least some things, otherwise I'd freak out. There's nothing I like more than American teen films with mean cheerleaders, bro. Are you just like a closeted mean girl? Is that what you are, Darius? That's so brave, Posey. I could never do that. Shit, that's so gross. Oh my god. What the fuck? Wow, Darius, so brave. You're playing football in your 30s? That's so brave. I have to give it back to you, okay? Okay? I'm very open about my Mean Girls fight. That's why you play football, you know? The gayest sport. Actually, I think wrestling's the gayest sport because you regularly have like someone's dick in your face when they're trying to pin you. You know? Have you seen The Honeymooner? That position's wild. Only a little gay, though. Imagine, like, someone actually being gay and having to do that. It's like exposure therapy, you know? You normalize it. It's like no longer attractive. It's just. Anyways, Dari says, no, I've never been into wrestling. It's just a gay version of ballet or soap opera. What do you mean soap opera? Please explain. Please explain. It's just storylines in it. Oh no, I'm talking about like actual football. Like actual football. Carolyn Levitt also had a meeting today after Abrego Garcia's release. I'm really fucking bad at his name. I feel so horrible about it. I didn't get to watch that one today. I was busy. I was busy. I wish I did. I should have. Oh, NFL, I've seen like maybe 2 hours total of that, but I think it looks like an enjoyable sport. You. Your old coach was really into it? You. No, like wrestling. I'm talking like not like WWE. I'm talking like Olympic, like Grecian wrestling, you know, where they lubed each other up and they put each other in like tight positions. It's just attacking or defensive set plays. Yeah, that's like regular football. I'm talking. I'll have to watch the countdown of it later. Oh yeah, I don't have the upper body strength for stuff like that. Yeah, honestly terrifying. Like, oh, I don't know if I've talked about this, but like, when I was in high school and I was like helping out with the wrestling team a lot, we had to give blood. I found out I couldn't give blood because I pass out. I just pass out every time because, I don't know if I'm anemic or what, but I just do. It's kind of bad. But long story short, blah 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 blah. Um, I was like in the wrestling room because that's where they did it, and they literally just like kept. It's not brave. What do you mean not brave? I was so brave. I gave my blood and I passed out. I was like knocked out. So by the time I woke up, they like closed everything off. Like they started putting things away. Like the school day ended because it was like during class time or whatever, and then the wrestlers started coming in for practice because it was like fall winterish time period. That's when the season is. And then like I remember one of the wrestlers, I was like, I don't think I can walk myself to the car. And this one dude, he was like 230 fucking pounds. He like just picks me up and he like holds me out like this. He like picks me up off the thing and he's like, do I need to carry you? And I was like, why are you carrying me? And he was like, well, you said you can't walk. So I was like, I'll just carry you to like a car and then someone will drive you home. And I was like, what the heck? And then they literally just like, he just like held me out like this. And then he like switched positions. So I was like, you know, like the traditional like cradling someone, carrying them to the car. And I was like, it was so weird. It made me feel so uncomfortable. But it's really hard to just like hold somebody out like that. Just be like, whoop. Anyways, I did not. I was like, you know? I have another rotten mango video. We might not be able to finish it. It's like 2 hours long. Her videos are so long. Why? I got turned down for giving blood once because you're not allowed to do it. And I lived in South America for like 10 years or something. Oh, like if you've lived in South America? That makes sense. Here they say no even if you're like gay or whatever. It's kind of weird. I don't really get that. The homophobia goes hard in America. They're like, nope. Do you want to watch the Rotten Mango video? I want to watch the Heartland video. She always looks kind of like sad. And, like all the things. Wait, let's see. Like it was because I went to Brazil for a few weeks every year or something, and they got mad. And Miss Gibb is true. No, I want to research something which we know you won't do. What do you mean? What do you mean? That's so rude. So rude. What would I even do research on today? What would I do? Tell me. We could talk about like how let's see. We could talk about Yemen. I need to do more digging into Yemen for sure. I mean, we could talk about like what I watched earlier today, the Sudan stuff. Yeah, there's lots of updates. Lots and lots of updates. Lots. To be fair. Progressive tax systems. Is that really what you want to talk about? Is that like your thing? Does it give you dopamine? The socialism welfare net in Scandinavia? Oh my god. I feel like you watched some other creator do it and now you're like, Josie, do it! Josie, do it! I mean, I watched them basically interrogate you know. What's her fucking face? Nope. 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 Christine Ohm. She's crazy. She basically lied a lot, and then everyone's like, you're not supposed to lie! And then it's like, what else do you expect her to do? That's like what she's best at. There are all things that get mentioned loads, Posey. You're a shit poster. Let's see. Yeah, but I guess we could talk about fucking Christino. That's what I paid the most attention to today. It was like a 3-hour fucking video. She was unhinged as per usual. The Republicans were trying to talk about like Sharia law, which we could watch the Sharia law video. I've said multiple times I wanted to watch it with you guys, but obviously, like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that one. Because they're like, oh, Muslims they value Sharia law over fucking American law. And it's like, I don't think they understand what that even is. And there was a whole video that they played in front of them. And she was like, yeah. Like, I don't even know if she was there for that one. But the other dude, because she had to leave early. So she basically left before Puerto Rico could ask her any questions, which that checks out, you know? That's kind of what she does often. She'll just kind of leave. Oop. 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 Let's delete that one. Delete. There you go. I always forget to put my recaps in. Sharia law is an important part of Islamic culture. There's lots of arbitration over civic matters here involving it. It's mainly like divorces and wills and stuff. Yeah, kind of. For the most part, it is. It really depends on, like... There's a really good video that we can watch. Let's do... Where's his video? Yeah, I talked about it like 2 weeks ago. I was like, we should watch this. But it can be like divorces and wills and stuff. It's usually more about like what you can and can't do like in the religion itself. But there's lots of layers to it. Did we watch this on stream? I can't remember if we did or if we just like talked about it. But yeah, I should find the one video. Let's see. It was fucking crazy. Oh, here it is. This dude is like fucking wild. I don't think we watched it. Oh, okay. Okay, well, I guess we'll watch it today. Why not? I do have to leave early though, remember. I have things to do sometimes. Oh, it's a dark screen. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Okay, there we go. Look at her, look at her legs. That is just torso legs. Okay, anyways, this is kind of a little bit beforehand. I have timestamps for all of this too. I was listening to it as my landlord was here trying to fix my heating. Okay, let's see if the audio is rough.
If we're going to address the violence in this country.
I think that's good.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Creighton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this committee hearing today. Thank you for the witnesses.
Let me get the link.
Director Kent, you talked about what.
Oh, context. Okay, so Kristi Noem is in part, she's basically in charge of Homeland Security, and basically, you know how we have the Senate, and then we have the House, and the House is like the 2-year term thing, and the Senate is like the 6-year term or whatever. So the House, they have different oversight committees and everything in the House and the Senate. It's very complicated. I'm not going to dive too deep. But basically, the House Homeland Security Committee holds a hearing on threats. And it's basically every year to like sometimes twice a year, they will talk to the Director of Homeland Security or the person in charge or a representative that is adjacent speaking for the department. And they'll ask them lots of questions regarding Homeland Security issues. So ICE would fall under like Homeland Security and everything, and how they're arresting people, how they're dealing with immigration, terroristic like threats and everything. That's for the most part what she's supposed to deal with. She's not great at it, but you know, it's kind of like her job. Here's a link. I'll pin it just in case. So all of the different members of the committee get an opportunity to speak for 5 minutes, roughly, where they ask her questions. And she gets to answer those questions depending on whether or not they are for the person or against the person and what they're doing. The questions will vary. So if they are like, because she's obviously, yeah. Oh, this is quite a cool democratic process. It can be. It can be very like frustrating at times, especially if the person in charge, like the sitting chair, or the chair leader or whatever, I forget. Sometimes they have different names depending on the committee or whatever. But the person in charge will sometimes let the person like the cheerleaders, they'll let the person that they're questioning speak over, and basically, here's the tactic. If they are against what the person is doing, so like if they're not happy with what Kristi Noem is doing, they'll ask a lot of hard-hitting questions, and usually the tactic that the person being interviewed will use is try to use up all their time by giving very lengthy statements. So I think Crockett, I believe she was here, I could be wrong, I don't know, there was someone that was like questioning her earlier. I was just listening instead of watching. But there was someone that was questioning her earlier in this, and they were giving her like hard-hitting questions, and she was like, I need a yes or no answer. And then Kristi Noem just starts giving like a very lengthy statement. And it's like, no, this is a yes or no answer, which was perfectly appropriate for the circumstance. And Kristi was like trying to go over, and the person who was asking the questions had to ask the chair if they could have their time back, because it's very, very important that you have that full 5 minutes, because you want to ask as many questions as possible. Sometimes there's limitations, so Kristi Noem couldn't be here for the full time. So by the time they got to the Puerto Rico representative who was asking the hard-hitting questions, she was just gone. Like, she was just not there to answer any of them, which can be really disappointing. If they are on the side of Kristi Noem and what she's doing, like this representative here, Mr. Crane or whatever, I don't remember his fucking name. I think that's what it is there. What they'll do is they'll use it to kind of like frame her in a more positive light, or use it as a propaganda piece And that's what he did here. So that's kind of this example. Does that make sense? I usually don't cover this sort of thing, but this is what I like to listen to. I'm crazy. And then after this, we can do the White House presser too, if you guys want to. But it really is up to you. But I'll get her started.
I believe you said, we don't know who came into the country in the last 4 years. And we've cited several times in this hearing that about 15 to 20 million people came into this country under the last administration. And something that you said actually shocked me. You said that 18,000 known and suspected terrorists entered into the country during the Biden.
Oh, here's also the thing. The person who is sitting, being asked all the questions and stuff, oftentimes they will give a lot of random statistics and not have a lot of stuff backing it up. So they'll just throw out random numbers, and certain people who are asking questions will view them as valid, but other times they'll say no. 20 million, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. She's just exaggerating the figures and not really saying the truth. And she could just say, well, at the top of my head, I think it's this. And that's kind of how it goes. We've had about 5 million in 4 years. I know. That's a real figure, yeah. It's like over... She can inflate it because she doesn't have the actual documentation there. And it honestly makes her look bad to say stuff like that without having the actual statistics to back it up in the statement. Other representatives who are more professional will say things like, oh, I don't have the statistics at hand, but I will release them after the fact, or I will send them to you after the fact. And they'll be like, give us a ballpark figure, and they have to force it out of them. Kristi Noem and people like Kash Patel will just throw random numbers out there. And it kind of makes this situation harder.
Administration, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's
I don't
deeply
think she's here for
concerning,
this
but
one.
I'm
I
really
think she
not
already left.
surprised. Many of us in this committee said that's exactly
Yeah.
what was going to happen. I didn't know that those numbers
I
would
think
be as
she
high
left.
as they are. One of the other things that really concerns me about what's going on in this country is we continue to let people into this country that do not want to assimilate to our culture and want to harm Americans. I want to go ahead and play a video.
And this is also part of their time.
Law should be above the U.S. Constitution.
Yes. Yes.
Should Sharia law be over the U.S. Constitution?
Yes.
U.S. Constitution, which
I
is
know,
made
it's
by
Fox
people.
News, yeah.
And Sharia law is made by Allah, so that is all the way above. That has to be definitely in the land, not for the America, for the whole world would be above. The
So
Sharia
that
law.
should be above the U.S.
Definitely.
Constitution.
Yes.
Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Sharia law. I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law. Sharia law, yes.
You prefer Sharia law over American law?
Of course, yeah.
They always can come with the same accusations. This speaker supports
Look,
death penalty
this stuff's
for
just wild, but they actually played
This
this.
speaker supports death penalty for
It was fucking
this
crazy.
crime or that he is homophobic. These are general views that every Muslim actually has. Every Muslim believes in these things.
If the law of the land is Islamic, we
I'm just
respect
gonna
the law
let
of
it
the land.
play.
It's not
If
Islamic.
it's not Islamic, then the law of the land
I'm
and those
just
who
not
make it go
gonna-
to hell, quite honestly, because Allah said in
my
the Quran,
God.
in chapter 33, verse 1, He said, O Prophet, fear Allah and do not obey the disbelievers and the hypocrites.
You know why they're worried about the border? Watch this clip here that Vinny just sent with Al Qaeda.
These people do exist. We have them here. It's why you actually need actual statistics rather than anecdotal
Doesn't
stuff.
matter if they're Arab, American, or
Yeah,
other descent.
this is just propaganda right here,
I'm
though.
saying to all of them, revenge, revenge. Do
The
not
majority of
insult anyone
Muslims,
by
like
killing
in the
infidel
West and
Americans.
in America, are more progressive
You
than
should have a
anything
lot of
else.
determination and a list of your targets should be effective.
But they just,
Director Kent, what do you
this
think
is all
when
like
you see
a
video like
propaganda
that?
thing right now.
I think
Because of the
we didn't
Somali
have control of our
immigrants
borders, and we
and
don't
how
know who's
that's a
coming to
talking
our
point
country.
right now.
However, we have had around 2.7 million individuals from Muslim countries and Muslim regions who came in under the Biden administration who went through minimal to no vetting whatsoever, who probably share values like the folks that you saw on the screen.
Director Kent, are you aware that when we invite people into this country and they become citizens, they swear an oath to defend and support the Constitution and the laws of the
See how
United
it's all
States of America and
propaganda?
against all enemies, foreign and domestic?
Yes.
What do you
Just
believe
wait.
the long-term consequences will be if the United States continues admitting individuals who either openly reject assimilation into American civic culture or who falsely swear an oath to uphold the Constitution despite having no intention of honoring it?
We simply won't have a country anymore as we know it. I think we can look to Europe and to the UK to see exactly where this leads.
I agree 100%. Director Kent, are you
We brought,
aware of
like,
some of the
UK and stuff
differences
into it.
between U.S. Constitution and common law
Yeah.
interpretations of the Sharia
That is
law?
the UK mentioned, yeah.
And broadly, yeah.
It's not representative, it
What are
doesn't
the
make a sure percentage
differences
of people with
in
these
your
beliefs.
opinion?
Actually, it's
And I
being
know
used to
you're not a
disingenuously, and that's
doctorate on the
probably
subject,
propaganda.
but
And that
between
is
the First Amendment,
propaganda.
which guarantees freedom of speech and the press, including the
They
right to
cherry
criticize
pick 'cause-
religions, religious texts, and public figures without government punishment.
Yeah, the freedom of speech, I think, is huge because you don't have that under Sharia law, and you also don't have the assumption of innocence under Sharia law.
Just wait until the next
Many
representative who
interpretations of Sharia, blasphemy,
speaks after
criticism of the Quran or the
after
Prophet
this dude.
Muhammad can be a serious offense, sometimes punishable by death. And there are many others.
No, I
that
know.
I don't
People
have time
do
to
think
get
like
to, but I
this,
wanted
yeah.
to bring that up
The
today
people I
so
was
that
raised with
Americans
think like
understand
this.
the differences
Well, it's not like
and
this,
why
now
we
they're,
need to
like,
be
dead,
very
but, you
careful
know.
about who we let into this country. I thank you guys for the work you do. I thank you for those underneath you working so hard to keep the American citizens and people safe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and I remind if you don't get to questions that you want to ask, you can submit them for the record. So we can do that at the end. I now recognize the gentleman from Puerto Rico, Mr. Hernandez, for 5 minutes of questions.
I have some matters of interest regarding immigration and FEMA, but before that, Mr. Kent, does the Bible say anything about freedom of speech?
Not a biblical scholar.
I don't think it does, and I
Oh,
am
but
concerned
he's
about
not a
singling
biblical
out
scholar.
Muslims and
He's not a biblical scholar, but he's more than comfortable to speak about a religion he's not even educated on.
specific religions to talk about how
I know, I'm gonna let him speak,
their
I know,
religious
I know.
dogma conflicts with our
know.
laws and constitutions. I lament that Ms. Noem has had to
I hate
leave
that
early
word.
today, but
Lament.
I wanted to talk about the atrocities
It's my
that
least favorite word.
the DHS's immigration enforcement and the pain it is causing in places like my home district of Puerto Rico. Just a few weeks ago, we witnessed ICE shove a pregnant woman. I cannot imagine, as an expecting father myself, the anxiety that that family must have gone
Mr.
through when
Ogles?
they took that person to the
I know,
hospital
that's his name.
and treated her for
The
her
other dude.
injuries. Also, a few weeks ago, CBP detained Aracelis Terrero from the streets of Cabo Rojo. They put her on a plane, they sent her to Texas. She was in a detention facility. She was removed from the detainee location service, and she was not allowed to contact her attorney. Ms. Terrero was a domestic violence victim who was in Puerto Rico with a legal work permit. And I wanted to ask Ms. Noem if DHS policies allow CBP agents to detain persons who are legally in the United States. I wanted to ask Ms. Noem the legal authority behind the detention of
I wish he
Aracelis
was
Terrero.
able to speak
I wanted
sooner
to ask Ms.
so we could
Noem
actually ask her
why
these
she was
questions.
removed from the detainee location system. I wanted to ask Ms. Noem why Aracelis Terrero was not allowed to contact her attorney. Unfortunately, I predict that she would not have given us adequate answers based on the answers that she has provided to my colleagues here today. Now, I also wanted to raise a concern with Ms. Noem regarding TSA agents. In Puerto Rico, I witnessed how many TSA agents worked arduously without pay during the government shutdown, and how her announcement that they would get $10,000 as a bonus for working without pay during the pandemic actually created the opposite effect of boosting morale, because it was so selective that it excluded, apparently, most workers. And finally, I wanted to raise the concerns of red and blue mayors from Puerto Rico. I emphasize red and blue mayors, Republican and Democratic mayors, regarding her recent secret policy regarding transactions or grants for FEMA money that exceed $100,000. So to their surprise, they found out that grants and funding assignments exceeding $100,000 would now need to be approved by Secretary Noem. But there was no transparency regarding that rule. And we have no information regarding the application and the enforcement of that rule. And I sent her a letter with 15 other members asking those questions, and I got a letter in response that has no answers to these questions. And I wanted to urge her to reconsider this policy that is delaying aid and reconstruction funds for the people of Puerto Rico, which are still suffering 9 years after Hurricane Maria, and that this is affecting Republicans and Democrats, that reconstruction should not have a party ID, and that instead of fighting the bureaucracy, this has made the bureaucracy worse. But unfortunately, Secretary Noem left early, and we are left expecting these answers. Thank you, and with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Ogles,
All right.
for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
That was pretty much like the hard-hitting stuff that I wanted to like bring up, mainly because like what the fuck? Yeah, it's Mr. Ogles. He's a character. Interesting person. But that was kind of what I wanted to mention, because that's something that's being really, really heavily discussed within the Republican side of things, and they're very, why are you censoring Mr. Ogles? Let him speak. No, because he's just going to talk about something that's not really relevant right now. I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about this. Because I think this is really important, and I'm really tired of people saying that it's something that it's not. Oh no, I think this is is this the same one? No, this is the same one. Ah, boop. 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 It's the same one? Aha! There you go, I pinned this one. Ha! There we go. But this is one that's like really important. It's very, very, very important. IMO. Because a lot of people will think about like Sharia law and stuff like that. Like, this is something my dad really talked about a lot. Like, he thought that it was something that it wasn't, and that, oh, hi, Dixie, and that it was just, yeah, it was just basically fucked up. Oh, fuck me, Mo Salah has been offered a $2.5 million a week salary, tax-free by the Saudis. I knew he was gonna go to the Saudis. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Just wait till Tahami shows up. He's going to be like, what the fuck? Everyone sells out to the Saudis. Everyone does. All right, we're going to watch this. It'll be pretty quick.
Now, it comes up in social media comments and in relation to political debates and
I feel
events.
like this is important.
In general, is something that many people in Europe and North America have very strong, often negative feelings about. But what becomes clear when one reads these discussions and comments is that most of the people engaging in these discussions don't really know what Sharia law actually is or how it functions. So what is Sharia law really? Well, I can begin by saying that there is no such thing as Sharia law, at least not as people understand.
His wife is a Muslim
the
too.
very term itself, Sharia law,
Oh,
betrays
great.
an unfamiliarity with the subject, and
His
thus
wife
also
is,
is very misleading
from a
because
Muslim majority
it sort of
country
makes
that
you
has a
think
lot
that
of
there is
like
some kind of
Sharia
codified
elements, you know?
specific law that we're dealing with here,
And
which
he
there
married
isn't,
into it.
right? A tip from me as a starting point would be to basically just abandon using the term Sharia law and instead familiarize yourself with the actual Arabic, which is simply Sharia. Not only will you sound a lot smarter if you do that, but also when you start understanding what Sharia actually mean and how redundant using law afterwards really is, you might be able to start grasping the complexity of the subject more by simply changing the way you think of the term itself. The term Sharia comes from a word root meaning something like a way or a path. So the word for a street in Arabic is shara, for example, right? So it's the same root, and often it's thought to mean or used to mean Sharia, that is used to mean something like the path to the watering hole, right? So this is an old pastoral metaphor. It's hard to actually translate Sharia in a way that makes sense, but
He's learning
many will
Arabic
indeed
too,
translate it
but
as
it's more classical.
non-literally as law or Islamic law. But already at this point, there is a problem because the term law doesn't really encompass what is meant in this context. When we say law in English, we usually think of a set codified law, such as the specific law of a nation state or something like that. The Sharia doesn't work like that. Instead, the Sharia is something a lot broader and more abstract and intangible than this. Now, as a disclaimer, I want to say that this episode will not be a comprehensive overview of Sharia or Islamic law, or its history, or really anything like that. That will have to be left for future dedicated episodes. What this is meant to do is just give a very brief understanding and overview of what the term itself actually means and how it functions in a very basic sense in Islam, with a particular focus on
his job. He's a historian.
Dispelling some of the very common misconceptions and misunderstandings about Sharia that I see a lot out there on
And he
social
actually
media
goes and
so
travels to
on. When I
places
say that
too.
Sharia or Sharia law so to say, doesn't exist in the way that people imagine it, what I mean by that is that people use the term in a way that seems to imply that it is a fixed, codified law, but in fact there is no such thing. There is no book of Sharia. Of course, there are many books of Sharia in the sense that there are many books in the Islamic tradition dealing with law and law questions, but there's no book of Sharia in the sense of, like here, like you have the law of Sweden. Like here's a book with all the laws and the rules. There's no such thing in Islam. It's much more complex, much broader, and much more complicated.
Wait, does he have a Swedish accent?
The scholar Muhammad Hashim Kamali says, quote, Sharia is a broad concept that is not confined to legal rules, but comprises the totality of guidance that God Most High has revealed to humankind pertaining to the dogma of Islam, its moral values, and its practical legal rules. In other words, Sharia is an intangible, abstract concept.
Yeah, see, okay. He's going to answer that, but I want to add to this. Darius asks, are the laws of the Taliban, Saudi, etc. not explicitly called Sharia laws? They're technically not. They're technically the laws of the land. And he'll dive into that later in this video. But when a religious institution is I wish Tahami was here for this too, or someone that's from the region as well, because they would be able to describe it better. But the way a lot of my students and my friends have explained it to me is that, and the research I've done, Iran is a theocratic society as well, no? So here's the thing. Even if you have a government that has a lot of religious undertones where they prefer one religion over any other, it's still not a whole encompassing religion. Because in Islam, there's so many different schools of thought, which he dives into here a little bit. I recommend watching his channel. It's very good for people to learn more about. They have elements, but it's not like he said here, Sharia law isn't necessarily a book that you can read and it applies to all Muslims. That's what the Quran is, you know? And basically how different people interpret the Quran, how it should be, and hadiths, and how it should be adapted into modern day society dictates how people follow it. Those are the different schools of thought that I was referencing. So let's say the Ottoman Empire was a primarily Muslim, empire, but they even allowed for people who were Christian to have different if there's Christian v. Christian crime, they could be tried differently than Muslim v. Christian or Muslim v. Muslim, Same with Judaism or anyone who had different rules and regulations. They could say, with this definition and how it actually is, that would be a form of Sharia law, but that's not the end all be all Sharia. It really depends on the school of thought, the governance, whether or not they're just using Sharia as an excuse to be fuck the Ottomans. I actually think the Ottomans were not that bad, but because they did this, they allowed people to function. I highly recommend you do more research on them because they were a lot better than Rome, not gonna lie, or many other conquesting empires. Oh my god, Aliana. Chill. We're not diving into that. Yeah, they got taxed differently. So Muslims would get taxed differently. It'd be like a cheaper tax, but they'd also have to be in the army and stuff. If it was far away from, like if they conquested a land that was further away, they would allow people to keep doing things as normal, but they would normally tax them even less. But that's just the Ottomans. So what they had was like a form of Sharia law, but it wasn't like the Sharia. It was just within the school of thought and the governments that they had there. What Iran has is with a different school of thought and with a different governance. It's not the end all be all. And it can be abused by the governance that exists. It doesn't mean that it is ethical for everybody and that every Muslim country is going to have the same Sharia law or even Muslim institution. There's like cultural things that come into play as well, which is a whole other thing. Sorry. Oh my god. Leona says, I remember what pushed into the Twin Towers. Bro. Darius says, the Ottomans absolutely fucked up trade. Oh, also, hi. In Europe, Posey, and led to colonialization of North Africa. Is that what you support now? No, bro, chill. I'm saying that it was better than Rome. And how they treated people was a lot different than a lot of even current colonial societies. I'm just being real. I'm not romanticizing the Ottomans. Chill. But it's important.
Concept
but
of
he's
the
going to keep diving
totality of
into
divine guidance to mankind. It's the principle of the way that God wants us to live, which is essentially what
oh
religion
my god.
is.
Disagree.
And indeed, in many contexts in
Disagree.
Islam, the term Sharia can be used almost synonymously with religion. There is the Sharia of Moses, which is the Sharia of the religion of the Jews.
Listen.
There is the Sharia of the Christians, and so on. Every such group has their own Sharia, and the Islamic or Muhammadan Sharia is only one. Of course, one that is the final and most complete Sharia that abrogates the other ones according to Islam, but still, it is one Sharia among other Sharias, so to say. So Sharia is really the totality of religious practice and the way of life that a religion teaches, in this case specifically Islam, and perhaps in particular the outward or exoteric aspects of religion. What do I mean by this? Well, the Sharia is to pray 5 times a day. The Sharia is to fast during Ramadan. The Sharia is to give to charity and to take care of those in need.
Islam.
The Sharia is to be a good citizen. The Sharia is to respect your parents. The Sharia is to be modest. And the Sharia, since it is all-encompassing, deals not only with individual responsibility, but societal as well. So the Sharia does include principles on how society should function, including how to punish crime, things like marriage laws, and other such subjects that fall under what we would mostly mean by quote-unquote law.
Like I said, it depends on the school of thought, too.
And these legal, narrowly defined legal aspects of the Sharia is a quite small and very tiny part of the breadth of Sharia. So you can see why translating it simply as law would really misrepresent what the Sharia means to the majority of Muslims around the world and historically. To perhaps get a better overview, we can look at the Sufis or Islamic mystics and the way that they talk about Sharia. To them, the mystical path to God usually consists of different important aspects. There is the Sharia, the Tariqah, and the Haqiqah. These are all required to properly walk on the Sufi path. The Sharia here means to uphold all the exterior practices of the religion. You need to do your prayers, you need to follow the moral principles of the religion, and so on. The Tariqah, which also means a path, is rather the so-called inner path, the spiritual path that one walks on. But in order to properly walk on the spiritual path, you need to be grounded in outward reality and society, which is again what the Sharia is here. And all this leads you, hopefully, to discover haqiqah, which is truth or reality. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea. Sharia is a very broad term, meaning the totality of God's guidance, the way that we are to live outwardly, that we pray and keep the religious duties, but also, as we say, more legal aspects in terms of society. But with that said, don't get the idea that this means that there is such a thing as a fixed code of such practice. As we said, Sharia is a quite abstract and intangible concept. It's the idea of the divinely willed law or way of life, but what that means on a particular level is another matter entirely. It's here that we get to the concept that I think a lot of people mistake for Sharia, namely fiqh, or Islamic jurisprudence. Fiqh
This is
developed
important.
as one of the main sciences within Islam, and it's concerned with the particularities of the Sharia. For example, how do we pray? What does it actually mean to live a moral and modest life? What are the particular rules and regulations for people and society? This is what fiqh and its scholars are concerned with. And the most important point to make here is that Islamic jurisprudence, or Sharia, is thus something that is hugely diverse. All the different scholars of jurisprudence have as their goal
There is
to
no
interpret what the
Sharia
Sharia
handbook.
is on a particular level, and their methods and conclusions
You have different
thus
schools of
can
thought, and you have
differ
the Quran.
dramatically.
Pay attention.
Sharia and fiqh or jurisprudence is thus not in any sense a fixed code of law, but is a discursive and interpretive process by which Muslims attempt to know how to live as closely as possible according to the divine will. The Sharia is not a codified body of law, but a process of moral legal reasoning grounded in the divine will and then realized through human interpretation in fiqh. From the very earliest days of Islam, this meant that there were differences of approach to how one figures this out, which eventually led to many different schools of law in Islam. Fiqh is a vast and complex field, and a whole science developed around it called the usul al-fiqh, or the principles of jurisprudence. And the different schools will differ in their methodologies and thus conclusions. There are, for example, 4 major schools of law in Sunni Islam today. Historically, there were even more than this, but right now there are 4 ones that are sort of main accepted schools of law. There is the Hanafi school, which is the largest and usually seen as the more open or most tolerant and lenient. There is the Maliki school, which is very popular in Africa primarily. It was also very common in Andalusia when that was
a lot of my students
ruled by the Muslims.
Know more about this.
There is the Shafi'i school, which is also quite widespread in the Middle East generally. And then there is the
You just don't want to
Hanbali
listen.
school. And the Hanbali school is like on the other side compared with the Hanafis. They are usually seen as very strict, very conservative. They're very textually and scripturally based, very literalist, you could say. So for example, the government of Saudi Arabia, which follows what's often known, at least by outsiders, as Wahhabism, a kind of Salafi movement, that school is very heavily influenced by the Hanbali school in particular. And all the groups that we consider to be extreme, they often follow a kind of Hanbali.
There you go.
Hanbali law.
He answered
tradition,
your question.
right? So there are all these different schools. And in Sunni Islam, for instance, all of these schools, despite their differences, are seen.
It's not about listening, it's Gish grabbing names and giving a degree of authority instead of giving the actual information. It has purpose. It's just trivia. If you would sit there and listen, you would learn it. Because there's a lot of open-ended things that you have the opportunity to research yourself. You can see the differences in Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali. If you did more digging, he literally mentioned you wanted to know the similarities between like the different areas and regions, and he mentioned all of those here. He literally did. So that's why I'm saying, if you just sit there and listen and like put your listening ears on, you'll be able to get more from the video than trying to sit here and critique the entire thing. Because you're critiquing, he's mentioning the names and not the actual information. He's building upon it. He's building upon it. It's not, when you listen to a good teacher or someone who's giving you information, they give, like working out, you have progressive overload. You get certain, okay, have fun, Aliana. You get certain information that is repetitive. It's going to be repetitive, so it becomes ingrained into your brain. That's how teachers teach you. That's how people learn the best. Like, that's literally scientifically proven. His job is to teach, and he's doing all the teaching things. You're asking a lot of questions, which are very inherently valid, But when I say it's coming later, you're just coming up with all the things that you want to critique in it to invalidate it, while you're missing when he's actually answering your previous questions. You're trying to jump ahead. He's building upon it to address an argument that no one has made. No one in their right mind believes Sharia law is codified in the Quran. Most people don't even know what the Quran is. They don't know Sharia law. They don't know the difference between Hanafi and Hanbali. They think they're the same thing. They think that all Muslims are the same because they believe a lot of propaganda. This is just giving people a little teaser about the different things that exist.
Right? So there are all these different
speak with Muslims
schools.
who don't know
And
the
in
different
Sunni
schools
Islam,
of thought
for
either.
instance, all of these schools, despite their
everybody
differences, are seen as legitimate. In other words, the Sharia includes within itself
out,
the
Darius.
flexibility and discursive nature of Islamic law traditions
Just
as
listen.
part of its scope.
Just
So
listen.
that in
You
one
might
place
learn.
of the world where one follows one certain methodology or interpretation, women might not be allowed higher education, whereas in another part of the world, Muslim women are encouraged to get an education. And these are both examples of the Sharia, or Muslims trying to interpret what the Sharia is, let's say. And there's a real actual example of this. Many of you probably know about the situation in Afghanistan, where the Taliban has been ruling the country for the last couple of years, and they have gradually restricted women from higher education,
Darius.
primarily in universities.
You're
and
not the one making the video.
They
You make the
will
videos, you
justify
can
this
format it
based
differently.
on that they are following the moral principles of the Sharia, right? But then on the other hand, you have the Grand Mufti of Al-Azhar University in Cairo, probably the biggest seat of learning in Sunni Islam, reacting to that by saying that restricting women from going to university or from having an education contradicts the Sharia. He said, quote, "This shocking decision to the consciences of Muslims and non-Muslims should not have been issued by any Muslim. Indeed, Islamic law, or Islam, firmly denounces such banning, since it contradicts the legal rights that Islam equally guarantees for women and men." As another example, one school or scholar might say that an apostate should get the death penalty. That is a quite common position, and also one that is often brought up in these kinds of discussions where one critiques the Sharia. But then on the other hand, you have scholars who say that the original context for such punishments being carried out is irrelevant in the modern world, and thus that death penalty for apostasy should not be given out at all. Right? So this is also a position that many hold, including figures like Taha Jabir al-Alwani and others.
It's
complicated. Even find these more lenient interpretations in classical and medieval examples as well, such as in the writings of the famous Hanafi scholar As-Sarakhshi, who wrote, quote, "Renunciation of the faith and conversion to disbelief is admittedly the greatest of offenses, yet it is a matter between man and his creator. Thus punishment of them is delayed to the abode of recompense." Now, Sarakhshi's position on this is actually a bit more complex and nuanced than what may appear from this simple quote, but it still shows you that there can be quite dramatically differing opinions within the scope of fiqh or jurisprudence, or broadly defined also Sharia, right? So that all of these can be Sharia. Both the people restricting women to have education and the scholars condemning that and wanting women to have access to all education. This is all within the Sharia. This is all Sharia. Now, of course, you know, this can include disagreements and one camp thinking that the other one has misunderstood the Sharia, which is what the Grand Mufti of Al-Azhar, for example, said. He said that what the Taliban is doing goes against the Sharia, right? So, of course, there is debate within the Islamic context, but taking a step back and looking at what the Sharia is and how it functions in a general sense in the Islamic world and has functioned historically, we can see that it is a broader, intangible, discursive tradition in which these differing opinions can I don't want to say coexist, but that they can all be part of this wider discursive tradition, right? Do you understand the idea? There's no Sharia that says this or that about these topics in particular, The Sharia is, again, the wide discursive tradition and context in which all of these opposite conclusions can be drawn, as long as they can be shown to argue based on agreed upon methods and using sacred scriptures and other agreed upon methods. This is the topic of the aforementioned Usul al-Fiqh, the foundations of jurisprudence, and each school differs somewhat in their
That'll
approach.
answer your question.
They all essentially agree that the first two primary sources must be the Quran, of course, and the Sunnah, or example of the Prophet, the latter of which is usually drawn from the large corpus of hadiths, or stories and retellings of the Prophet's life. But then there are many other principles and methods too. Some schools, like the Hanafis, have historically and today put a much larger emphasis on using reason and contextual interpretation, and even principles like istihsan, which essentially means deriving interpretations based on the common good of society. Whereas the Hanbali school is very strictly textual, basing themselves very firmly in the text only. But even here, there must also be a level of interpretation through other methods, because indeed, there is no such thing as reading a text without interpreting it. And each time we read a text, we are projecting ourselves and our experiences and biases onto the text, which in turn affects how we perceive and understand that text. And this was true of Islamic scholars too. Right? No one is free of this. Right? You can never read a text, even a sacred scripture like that, and just withdraw pure direct information from it.
It's so much more complicated
so you know
than
all
that,
the
Darius.
answers, because you will always project yourself and your own, again, your experiences and biases onto the text, and that will affect what you take from the text, how you interpret that text, right? So to think that you can simply just go to a text and read it and get all the answers is a very naive way of approaching it that doesn't really work in reality. And even these Muslims, even the most strict ones like the Hanbalis, they understood that it was more nuanced
That's
than that.
not necessarily
There was historically indeed a school known as the Zahiri school.
correct. So you know how, like, in this video, he's mentioning the different schools of thought. He's like, these are the schools of thought that I keep referring to. And each school of thought, like he mentioned, is going to have a different, yes, it's a different level of like, hey, we need to either stick directly to like the text or we need to branch away from that. A good example of that would be like Christian religions. You hate the death of the author, but it's so very important, especially with hadiths, where not everything is explicitly written by one person. You know how like the Bible is written by many, many people supposedly and stuff like that? That is what hadiths are. You have many different perspectives where people are speaking on the same things. It can be counsel and bro, but they can be contradicting. So even if you abide by stuff exactly to the book being the different hadiths within a school of thought, basically, they are going to have some contradictions. And then you have to form a hierarchy within who is going to be the most credible. And because of those contradictions, some schools of thought are going to be more adapting to things. They're going to be like, well, you know, clearly because no one can come to a direct consensus, this is something that more people can have more freedom of thought in. They can be more flexible in, hence like why women are encouraged to get education in certain schools of thought and not encouraged to in others. You can find the same thing in like traditional like Christian conservative values. There are some Christian institutions that believe that women should not be going to school for certain things. Like the religious institution that I grew up in didn't, like, women were only allowed to get degrees in something, or it was seen as very frowned upon to get a degree in something that wasn't serving another person, which is why there was so much like medical related things for women. But if you wanted to become something like a lawyer, you would be shunned from the community because it was horrible. And so that's like a school of thought within Christianity. That's a similar framework. It's going with different texts and different people, you know? It doesn't take away that you can't use death of the author to analyze Tolkien and for me to take it seriously. Bro, but Tolkien is one person. Daria says, yes, Posey, we've had civil war about the specific part of the translation of the Bible. I understand the point. Yes, yes. So what he's saying here is he's trying to describe, like, give a rough overview of the different schools of thought. Hi, IR. Is it erg?
Which is very strictly textual, even more so than the Hanbalis. They basically didn't allow any other
Nice to meet
method,
you.
not like analogy,
Oh my
like
god,
an
Darius.
analogical
You have,
interpretation
like,
or
something
anything of the
against
sort.
him.
Like if it's not in the text, then
Yeah.
it's irrelevant, and if it is in the text, then it is
I hope you
taken
like,
exactly as it is written in the text.
Islamic history.
Zahiri school is essentially
Yes, I do.
extinct today.
Hello.
It was quite common or popular in some historical context. In Andalusia, for example, in the Middle Ages, there were a few prominent Zahiris, but it has very few followers today. There are a few, and there's been some kind of revival. I've heard that there are people out there who are sort of reviving the Zahiri school, but it is such a small percentage that it's essentially considered extinct today. And maybe this is because it's kind of just an impractical method, to be honest. So I hope this clears things up a little bit at least. I said in the beginning that there is no such thing as Sharia law as understood by many people, but clearly there is definitely such a thing as Sharia within Islam. In fact, it is part and parcel of that religion, almost synonymous with it in
We're
some
watching.
regards. But that Sharia
What
is
is
something
Sharia
very
law?
different from the quote-unquote Sharia
Basically.
law that most people talk
What
about.
do you mean nothing was cleared up?
It
Do you have
is,
more
as we
questions?
saw,
I can
the
answer
general
some.
moral framework that Muslim societies
I'm not
aim
the
to
best
operate
scholar,
based
but
on, and which took different forms depending on time, place,
I
and
wouldn't consider
interpretation.
myself a scholar
Another
either.
good point to bring up here, and one that I
I
think most
just,
people also
I like studying
misunderstand,
it.
is that the Sharia in traditional Islamic society only really applied to Muslims. It is the law, quote unquote, broadly defined, that Muslims are to follow. But it doesn't really concern Jews, Christians, or others.
Which is why the Ottoman
As we
Empire
saw,
was set up the
they
way
are
it
believed
is.
to have their own law.
It's also why, I wish Tahami was here for this, but in places like Egypt, they have different rules and regulations for Christians and outsiders versus the people who are there. And it could just be cultural traditions and regulations as well. You have the same thing for, like, if you were to go to the UAE, Dubai, or something like that, or even Saudi Arabia. Yes, what laws are present ubiquitously in Islamic theocratic states? But I can't answer that one because it's something that could be ever changing.
Their own sharias, and they are usually
the
left
thing.
to live according to those laws, even within Islamic empires. So while Muslims
why you're
weren't
not getting
allowed to
the
drink
answer.
alcohol in, say, medieval Baghdad, the Christians in that same city could still drink alcohol or eat pork and so on. So the Sharia really only applies to Muslims, right? It's not like non-Muslim populations, even in these great Islamic empires, weren't forced to start following the Sharia all of a sudden. This is simply not how it worked. Now, with that said, there's more nuance here, of course, in the sense that if a society is run or tries to base itself morally in terms of its laws and so on the Sharia, some of those principles will be public things, like the way you can dress, maybe the way that trade is conducted, like things that are more public. That, of course, obviously will affect non-Muslims too, because they live in that society that, in a public sense, has these tendencies and these laws. There has also been, as part of the Sharia, at least historically, certain restrictions on non-Muslims as part of a sort of Sharia framework. So
You are
Christians and
committed
Jews
to
had
not
to wear certain
understanding
clothing
Darius.
in some historical context. They couldn't ride horses in the city. There were certain regulations about how tall their churches or synagogues would be. So, of course, the Sharia can also affect non-Muslims in an indirect way. But the point is that the direct or particular aspects of the law
Hell yeah,
are not
Ariana.
something that non-Muslims are required to follow. The only time
We strive,
that
Erg.
a
We strive.
Islamic court, a Sharia court, would be relevant for a non-Muslim, historically we're talking here mainly, is if they become involved in a case where a Muslim is also involved. So say, for example, there is a Christian and a Christian has committed a crime, or there is some like marriage disputes within a Christian community, then the Muslim rulers have always sort of allowed the Christians to deal with their own people according to their laws. So they will go to a Christian court and a Christian judge and solve that internally. But say if a Christian has a Christian merchant has goods stolen by a Muslim.
Oh, yeah,
Now suddenly there's a Muslim involved, and so the Islamic part or aspect of the law takes precedence. So now that case will be held in an Islamic court. Okay, you get the idea, right? So in general, the Sharia was and is for the Muslims. It is incumbent upon the population as a whole. There was also in traditional Islamic society a certain level of difference between Sharia and state law, known by names like siyasa or qanun. A Muslim ruler was generally expected to rule and enforce law according to the moral principles of the Sharia, with all the nuance and complexity of that concept kept in mind here, of course. But state enforcement of law was, in the end, up to the state itself, as long as it didn't, like, very obviously and outright contradict some, like, very agreed upon principle of the Sharia. Thus, a fatwa, or a legal opinion by a Muslim jurist, is generally non-binding. A ruler doesn't have to base themselves on it, but you can understand why it would be in their best interest to do so. But we also have to remember that such legal opinions or fatwas can greatly differ, so that also brings another level of complexity to the situation. In short, what I'm saying is that the classic Islamic state maintained a certain level of difference between religion and state in the sense I just described, even though portraying it in such a way is really to impose very modern and Western models of politics and categorizations that don't really fit the historical reality. Of course, there was no such thing as secularism in Islamic traditional society. But there was a certain level of difference between the government, the secular government, so to say, and the religious institutions. So the situation we see today in Iran, for example, is kind of unheard of historically. There has never been such a very clearly sort of theocratic state in Islamic history before today. And just like in my episode about jihad and war in Islam, we have to remember that because the Sharia is this discursive tradition, broadly speaking, that includes different methodologies, different conclusions, different schools, different scholars. That also means, of course, that the Sharia is not static in the sense of time either. So that Sharia, the way the Sharia was understood 1,000 years ago is not the way that the Sharia is understood today, except, of course, in very basics of like how Islam is practiced and so on. The particular rulings of the Sharia, how the Sharia has been interpreted, and the particular laws and rules that are derived from it in fiqh or jurisprudence differ. They have differed historically. So the Ottoman Empire looked one way, and Mughal India looked another way, and it changes and it develops, not only in different parts of the world, but across time as well. This is very important. So people will often like to say or think, it's a very comfortable and easy way of thinking, is that, oh, you can just go back to this is what this medieval guy said, and think that that applies to how Muslims think about that subject today, which is not necessarily the case. In some cases, it's definitely not the case. Or that people will say, well, this is what the Quran says, without keeping in mind this 1,000-year discursive tradition of recognizing the complexities of what the Quran is saying and the context that the Quran is saying something in, how that context plays into another context and how that is interpreted and what methods are used to interpret that and so on. Right? So we disregard this long and very complex and very deep tradition of interpretation and discussion when we do all of these things that I see people doing, not just non-Muslims, but certain communities within the Muslim world as well have this tendency, which really is to misunderstand their own tradition and how it has worked and works today still in many contexts, maybe most contexts. I could go on talking, but I think this might be a good place to stop. Hopefully you can all see that the Sharia is a topic that is a lot more nuanced and complex than how it is usually talked about. For most Muslims, the Sharia doesn't mean what it means to many non-Muslims. When they think of Sharia, it isn't primarily
This is
some
the important
penal
thing.
code of punishment, and certainly not a set codified one. Rather, it is a wide concept of a divinely willed moral principle that can govern their lives and that of society according to principles like justice, compassion, family values, social welfare, and all rooted in what is to them divinely revealed scripture and a 1,000-year-plus tradition of nuanced discussion and scholarship. So when it is brought up that Muslims around the world, including some in Western countries, say that they want Sharia to be implemented, what do you actually think that they mean? If you have a skewed idea of quote-unquote Sharia law as a set legal code, then you might think that a Muslim who wants Sharia wants apostasy laws, or hands to be cut off because of stealing, or stoning for adultery. Now, obviously, I can't speak for Muslims, but I can basically guarantee you that when most of them say that they want Sharia, these are not the things that they are thinking about. Rather, what they mean is that they want to practice their religion with all that means, and that the moral principles of that religion, as divinely willed, should be a guiding principle for society, principles primarily like justice and compassion, as we saw. And keeping in mind the intangible nature of Sharia and the fact that it is a concept and tradition that includes such a vast amount of diversity and differences of interpretation
Where's
as
like the artwork that
accepted
he
parts of
shows?
itself, you can see how the common scary idea of what this means isn't based on any proper understanding of Islam, Muslims, or the Sharia. Indeed, one of the leading scholars of Islamic law today,
Anarchist
writes,
Aliana.
quote, abundant statistics and data from around the Muslim world show a massive majority supporting the implementation of the
Also, who
Sharia
said
in
that,
one
Erg?
form or another. None of them remotely clear in terms of makeup, features, definition, or character. In fact, there exists today no single systematic account of what the Sharia is and what it should look like. To the vast majority, it is a principle rather than a specific code of law. It's an idea of a divinely just society rather than, for most Muslims, rather than being some specific rules or laws that many of the non-Muslims think of when they hear this claim.
I'd
Now,
say
with
it's
all
like
that
a
said,
giant
obviously
circle,
one can still be
Darius.
critical of the
They
Sharia
all
if one
shape one
wants.
another.
With everything I've said about the fact that there's
Changes
like
of
all
one
different
affects the other,
interpretations
affects
and
the other, affects the
different
other.
positions within different schools, there are still certain subjects that maybe like a majority of scholars have a certain opinion, and so it's legitimate to make an argument based on that and so on. This might be true.
Darius, what?
And there is also, for example, there are certain rules that are mentioned directly in the Quran, very specifically in terms of like punishments. These are often known as the had punishments, that because they are mentioned directly in the Quran in such a specific, detailed way, it's very they're much more set in stone than other such laws, perhaps. And so, definitely, if one wants to criticize the Sharia in some way, then you're free to do so. Like in a democratic society, then we should all be free to have our opinions and express those opinions, right? But if you want to criticize the Sharia, then you need to know what it is that you are actually criticizing. You need to know what the Sharia is, what it isn't, and how it functions, and what it actually means to Muslims and in Islam before you can even make an argument that will make any sense to begin with. And it certainly becomes very clear from the kinds of debates and discussions that we see online and in real life, so to say, that a huge amount of the people engaging in those discussions have really no idea what the Sharia is, or they have a very, very skewed and misrepresented idea of what it is. And so for that reason, discussions don't go anywhere, because you have people who don't really know the subject that they're arguing about, and they might be arguing with Muslims, and they have two completely different versions of what the Sharia is, and so they just talk across each other. And we don't get anywhere with those discussions, right? So hopefully now you will see that the way that quote-unquote Sharia law is often used completely misrepresents what it is, and thus creates confusion and misunderstanding that is detrimental to any constructive conversation. And I hope that this episode can at least shed some light on this topic and the incredibly complex history and reality of Islamic law and Sharia in general.
Oh my God, Aliana.
Obviously, as I said, this has been a very simple, very brief, kind of surface level introduction to what the subject is, mostly with the aim of focusing on reintroducing the subject and dispelling many of those misconceptions and misunderstandings and misrepresentations of what the Sharia is that are so profoundly wrong sometimes that I felt inclined to make this more nuanced discussion and lay down what this actually means in reality. I hope to maybe go further into detail and more in depth
Oh my God,
on the
Aliana,
Sharia and Islamic
shame.
law and all the traditions that are included in it in future episodes. Of course, I already talk about it to some degree on the channel in my other videos on Islam and Sufism. Of course, the Sharia and Islamic law comes up because it's part of that history generally. But hopefully, we can also make some dedicated episodes to the different schools of law, for example, and all those traditions that are so interesting and so complex. But that's for the future. For now, thank you for listening and for watching. I hope this has been informative in some way. And even more, hopefully, maybe give you a new perspective on what this topic
I finally play a video that answers your questions, and you're like, ah!
Thank you for watching. I want to give a special shout out to my patrons over on patreon.com. Thank you all so
I feel like it might be beneficial for us to watch the next video. But before I dive deep into it, Erk said, religious suffering is at one and the same time the expression of real suffering and a Protestant against a real suffering. Or a protest, fuck. I'm dyslexic. A protest against real suffering. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of the heartless world, and the soul of the soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. It is the opium of the people. I think that is Marx. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he's still here, but that sounds like something Marx would say. But yeah, I remember reading about that a while ago. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it is. But anyways, but yeah, that all started, that's Karl Marx on Religion Pussy. That's what I thought. Okay, I remember my Marx. A little bit, as I have like the commie star emote. You guys asked for it, so I gave it to you, okay? But yeah, no, I felt that was pretty important for people to understand. Daria says the real opium of the people was the opium of the British Empire used to break down China. Bro, yeah, drugs have been utilized to destroy a lot of different empires for a very long time. Happened in the Middle East, happened in South America, China, if you go back to like the opium times, even beforehand. Dental? What do you mean dental? Also, Andrew, can you heat me up some water too for tea? I heard you making tea, and I was like, I'm cold. I would also. Yes, please. Thank you. Daria says booze and cigarettes will be our greatest defense against aliens. No culture has survived it. I survived it. I don't smoke anymore, even though I think about it all the time. I'm like, give nicotine. Give nicotine. I miss it. I miss it so much. Ah, man. Yes, Aliana. You said hey. To which I say yes. Also, I'm losing my voice. I'm so sorry. Nicotine. Bro, it's like I can never. I say no sometimes. I can handle like doing it occasionally now, like having a cigarette casually, but it's not something that I should do often because then I'll just become an addict. When was my last one? Like actual like cigarette? I think it was when I was working at the comedy club. I could be wrong. I was like fucking chiefing. I only smoke a certain type of cigarette. So unless it's that type of cigarette, I don't smoke it. Cause well, I started smoking a certain type when I was working at the Euro place. And then I was like, this is the only type of cigarette I will ever smoke. If somebody has it, then I will smoke it. And then when I was working at the comedy club, one of my coworkers, he had, those were like it was his favorite brand or whatever. So I only smoked those. And then no one else I've really met since then has had it. So no ciggies. I'm very particular. Very particular. That's like my thing. I'm like, if it's this, then it's pass. If it's not, then it's not. Then it's not a pass. Then I won't take it. I know. I know. That's like how I don't do it. I'm just like, I have to like be very like, this one. This is the only one I'll take. So even if I'm around a ton of people that are smoking cigarettes, I will, well, if it's a foreign brand, I guess I try it. But like, I really only have a particular kind. And no one has it. No one really has it unless they're like uh, not from America. But Americans hate it, so you don't see it a lot here. Daria says, I think a pack of ciggies here costs about $25 for 20 now. Damn! It's also very hard to not use a word for them. They'll send you spare. I know. I know. Like, how much is a pack of cigarettes in my state? A pack with 20 is about $8 here. The F slur for gays is what we call cigarettes here. Oh, I know. I've consumed enough nicotine to know. It's actually really problematic. Sometimes I miss it, and I try really fucking hard to not consume it. I try so hard, okay? I'm healthy now. Operation Health. But yeah. I don't know. I have a specific kind, and I have never. What was it? Skins that got you into smoking? No, actually, it was being homeless. Like, I'm not even joking with you. They were like, I just didn't care about life, so I was like, oh well, who cares? Like, I just thought I was gonna die, so I was like, oh, that's probably the worst time to start smoking TBH. Yeah. Well, I started with like the really, I'm fucking old. I started with like the coil vapes, you know? So that's like, I had like I think they're called like RDAs. I had like a Buddha.
Still need to go.
15? Grazie.
It's pretty hot.
It is hot, but it feels good. Yeah, but I had an RDA and I had a Buddha RDA. So I really liked the electrical side of it because I did like robotics and stuff. So I was like, oh, this is easy. You just do that. And then how tight the coil is dictates like how much electricity goes through it. And then the type of coil, and you put the cotton. I liked it. It was like a whole process. Okay? And I did the clouds. And I was like, oh, well, this is really easy because then I could just take the batteries out and then charge them at my work. And then, I mean, I was a girl, so people just gave me like vape juice for free. So I was like, okay. Dari says, I just use Swedish chewing tobacco. I love a bit of nicotine, but hate smoking. Yeah, I don't like smoking anymore. That's why I can't have Zins. I've never had a Zin. And I know if I got a Zin, I'd just be like, I don't think I'd be like super into it, but I'm just like, I would not be able to. I don't think I'd like the swallowing it. I know some people swallow the Zin saliva, like most people do, but that kind of like, Zin is like chewing tobacco? No. It's like salt nicotine? That's like it's another form of like salt nicotine, like that's in like Juuls. Those were popular. You guys in Europe, you have the, what are they fucking called? They have like the little pearls in them for like flavor, and it's like a really short cigarette, but it like vaporizes. What are those called? I want one so bad. No, actually I don't. I don't want one. No more nicotine, but I want to try it so bad. What is the type of vape in Europe with the never smoked. Oh yeah. With the oh my god, I was like watching it the other day and I was like, I want it so bad. Oh, the Icos, something like that. But they're really, really popular and they're super hard to get in America. I think I tried it. No, I haven't tried it. I tried like an old school version of it. But they're called Ecos. I tried weed once in a bong and it was fucking rubbish. Yeah, it doesn't really affect me. It just gives me anxiety now. Which is so stupid. I just really like nicotine because it's like a stimulant. So if I have, like, nicotine is so hard for me to quit because it's a stimulant. ADHD people need stimmies. So most people with ADHD become nicotine addicts. Like, it's so easy. So easy. And I literally only quit because my grandpa died of lung cancer. And I didn't have a job. So I was like, I can't keep paying for this shit. So yeah. Yeah, party drug is not that different. It doesn't work. I just never, I don't know, I never really had the desire to do like party drugs really. It's just not really my thing. I just don't like it cuz like I don't know, like I tried. Oh, hi Tom Ray. Is it Tom Ray? Hello. We've been getting lots of new people recently. Talking about nicotine now. Oh, I had to sit under a table for 2 hours because I thought I was gonna flow off. Bro. It's Aliana's Myanmar army. I wonder what she does for fun. I'm trying to cool off my tea. It's very warm. I've been getting really into like Japanese green tea. I rated that guy that left a Marx quote then fucked off. Yeah, I mean Marx is vibey. Like I said, I like a lot of what Marx has said and a lot of his ideas, but I also think that they can be expanded upon, you know? Like nothing's ever perfect. But he did change society for the better. I personally would say so. Don't people leave like dildos on his grave and stuff like that? I'd leave him a pack of cigarettes. I feel like he would have smoked. Uwu Marxy, Daddy Marxy. Also, my cactus is still very sad. But it's looking a little bit better. I needed to give it some water. I don't know if it's gonna survive, but I hope it does. I think the tramps nicked them. It was well kept with the grave in it, so it's not that exciting. Yeah, graves aren't that exciting. I don't know. I think bring back the time where people used to go to graveyards for picnics and stuff. They used to be like public parks, like in the Victorian era. So in my city, people used to take a trolley system all the way to the graveyard up north, and they would just hang out there. So when you go and explore it, a lot of the really old rich people grave sites have this really amazing like glasswork and stuff like that all over it, and their tombs are made out of like beautiful limestone and stuff. And you can peer into it, but I love all the stained glass. It's amazing. And they still have like little places where you can have picnics and everything. And then they built out like a fallout shelter there. I got to like tour the old church and that sort of thing. It was really cool. I like graveyards. I think they're so neat. I think they're so like underrated because they're not creepy. They're only creepy if you like see a dead body, which you're not going to see unless there's like massive amounts of flooding. Anyways, I like graveyards. I like having picnics there. Like a Victorian. Drinking arsenic. I actually don't want to drink arsenic, but you know. They did. They also bathed in it. I think about that sometimes. How did some of them live so long? They literally were like, let's ingest lead and radium. You're not Victorian, stop culturally appropriating stuff. It was during the Victorian age. Should I say the Gilded Age? Because it feels like it wasn't actually the Gilded Age, you know? So I say the Victorian era. Same-ish time period. Hello, Olay. No, don't do it. You're going to spill my tea. The Gilded Age is an American thing. Yeah. Victorian era is more interesting, though. I look so tired. I swear your divorces were fucking up our line of secession. Bro! Divorces didn't really become, like, popular until the 1940s-ish. I think it was the 1960s, actually. And he still won 2 World Wars, bro. Bro. My fingers are so warm. Let me give myself, like, a nose job. So I don't think everybody else can do that. I was thinking about this the other day. Because, like, I got, like, a pointy nose. I have to get a nose job just because I can't breathe, but I'm poor, so let's see whenever that happens. But anyways. So, like, if I go to the side, I'm like, you know, you gotta, like, take it in. Look, automatic nose job. Look at that. Not many people can do that, but I do it really well. I'm like a diet Christina. Actually, she has a pretty decent. Nah, her nose job's kind of weird now, but you just like take it in. You can see they're not even. Anyways, you just like take it in like that and then nose job. You need to get like a lip flip with it though to make it work. I don't know how I do that. I realized that I could do that earlier today too. Dari says, good old Birdie, he had no idea he was going to be king and ended up fighting his cousins. Yaw. And then he fled. I understand why you don't speak to people. Yeah. But it's fun though. It's like, wait, maybe I can do like one side at a time. I don't know how to do that. Can you do it? So funny. Just at work, Brendan used numbers for Excel spreadsheet and he was practicing your nose jobs. Yeah. It's so good though. That's like the fucked up shit right there. It's like it actually is passable. Wait, I'm tiny because I don't put anything on my face. Okay. I love it. Okay. Very brave. I never be able to do that. Yeah, because you're a coward. You don't have the muscle dexterity. You don't express yourself enough, Darius. Okay. Okay, wait. What do you think? Okay. Should I switch my nose up like this? Do you think I should? It reminds me of like the people from Whoville. Yeah, let's go. There's something. It does something to my eyebrows. I like feel it up here. I feel like if I got Botox, I wouldn't be able to do this anymore. Now I have to like master doing it naturally. So then, like in the middle of a conversation, I can make my nose bigger and smaller and freak people out. That'd be so good. No, it's always been like this. What are you talking about? It's always been like this. It's always been like this. I don't know what you're talking about. My nose has always been like this. You're so ridiculous. Like, obviously, I didn't get a rhinoplasty. This is genetic. See? Eventually, there's going to be an Avenger with this power of the shrinking nose. Maybe don't do it to like a schizo person. They'll freak the fuck out though. But like, I have the power to shrink my nose. I don't know how noticeable it is though. Wait, normal. If only he's done these skills to Luigi! Ah, he could never. It like goes down too. It makes me look angry though. Okay. It's so noticeable too. It does make this look more pronounced though. I wonder if other people could like suck it in. Suck it in! The only thing is that's weird about it is that like it feels kind of funky. I wonder if I can smile with it. Wait, see. I have to like make my upper lip so tiny to do this. Alright, this is too intellectual for me. It's bedtime. Andrew! I can make my nose smaller! Hi. No, wait, come here. Wait, no, stand next to me and look. Okay. Okay. I can't do it with you here. Okay, wait, just. Okay. Oh. Oh. Wait. No, wait, I gotta do it to streams. Okay. No, we're not going. Stay here.
We are.
Stay here.
You gotta do your thing. We gotta do it before they close.
Okay, wait. Stay. What do you think? No, stay.
Time to go.
I think I look demented. Do I look Picasso? I look Picasso.
Oh.
Are you singing? No, it's my song. I guess it's time for me to go. I guess it's time for me to go now. It's funny. I can't express my eyebrows while I do this though. It's like, it gives me Botox. My plastic surgery face is on. Hi guys. I guess it's time for me to go. I'll be back. Okay. I'll be back later, guys. It's just not the time for me. I've had a lovely time. I've had a lovely day, and I greatly appreciate you watching me. It's not stalkerish at all. I enjoy being watched. Be the cuck of my research abilities. Anyways, enjoy being seated in your little cuck chair and watching me have fun. Live vicariously through me. Anyways, I will be back tomorrow. When I return, I will, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, so thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have had a wonderful day. Wonderful, wonderful day. And I will see you back here tomorrow. Go ahead and sleep well. Stay safe. Stay alive. Wait, I gotta get ready. Toads.